Revenge, Book 2 in the New World series. Written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie.
The sirens and klaxons were muffled, as were the screams and the shouting. Following immediately on the heels of the first shock, secondary explosions tore through the last word. With reactions no human being could match, automatic safety protocols took immediate control, closing valves, gates, and bulkheads all over the ship. But a split second was all the fire needed to invade the fuel system to devastating effect. Meritus picked himself up and called out for an immediate damage report. Even his own voice seemed far off to his ringing ears. "An explosion in one of the main engines, sir," shouted a bridge officer. "That's all we have at the moment." Lieutenant Hemming stood from her console controlling the ship's sensing equipment and approached Meritus with a quick salute. "Captain, the internal sensors have been damaged. I should get to engineering to find out what's happened and see if I can help." Meritus nodded. "Yes, go. Report back. ASAP." She saluted smartly. Turning away from the captain, she stopped once more at her station to remove a small memory card from its console. Quickening her step, she jogged from the bridge, heading down into the bowels of the ship. Meritus looked around furiously for Schultz. He found her several meters away, just beginning to stir sluggishly. He glared at her. She had a head wound that was bleeding profusely, doubtless caused by slamming into a hard surface on her way down. He approached with a snarl, lifting her indelicately by the arm. "A broken and beaten people, eh?" She gazed at him, not seeming to understand. Disgusted, he let her drop without sympathy, turning his back to bark orders at security personnel. Douglas regained consciousness. "What the?" he breathed, no strength in his words. Blearily, he too felt blood on his face from a cut above the eye. Sirens blared, seemingly from everywhere. Throwing a piece of decking plate over, he stood shakily to look around. Gradually, he realized that a miracle had just occurred, perhaps more than one. While taking his daily exercise, he had been jumping on the spot, bringing his knees up to his chest. On his last jump, the floor seemed to have followed him. A mere nanosecond after pushing off, the deck had buckled under some extreme force, launching him through the air towards Lloyd's bunk. From the feel of his head, they had connected, but his timing had indeed been miraculous. Had he been on the way down from his jump, the force would have shattered his legs. Turning, he observed his second miracle. The deck had distorted so badly that the bars to his cell were now bent out of shape, breaking the door completely away from its runners. Hoping for a hat-trick, he stumbled over to Lloyd, removing a few pieces of debris that had fallen across him. It seemed his third miracle was lost. Lloyd had a pulse, but he was a mess. "Jeff," Douglas tried anxiously. "Jeff, can you hear me?" Lloyd moaned, his eyes fluttering open. "What happened?" "I don't know. A pretty catastrophic explosion by the looks." "A rescue?" Douglas shook his head. "I can't tell. Come on, whatever's happening, we've got our opportunity to make a run for it." Lloyd coughed and cried out in pain. His side was hemorrhaging, the sheets of his bunk already soaked in blood. "I can't. I will not leave you. Wrap me up quickly so I don't bleed out, and go. Please." Douglas wrapped Lloyd's abdominal area as best he could with a sheet. "Come on, Jeff. Will you no at least try? We'll no get another chance like this." "Douglas, leave me. I can't move. Look at me." Douglas stared, stricken with indecision. "Lieutenant, we just got you back from the dead." "I'm no longer an officer under your command," Lloyd interrupted, pain making him short-tempered, even for him. "Nor any kind of officer at all, come to that. Remember the court-martial?" Blowing out an anguished sigh, he calmed himself with visible effort. "James, you must go. Be the hero. Save our people. That was always more in your line than mine anyway." He attempted a smile. Douglas wavered still. "Go, you damn fool!" Lloyd lashed out with one last tongue of his old fire. "I'm sorry, Jeff." We're all sorry. Now get the hell out of here while you still can. Whoa! That was a big one, Gleason cried, grinning at his handiwork. He turned to the others, most of whom were trying to crane into the cab. What's that? Asked Jones, rubbing his ears. I said that what... never mind. Gleason leaned forward, towards the small windscreen. How much damage have we done? Say again? O'Brien, also massaging her ears, leaned towards him in the gloom, trying to read his lips. Gleason shook his head in irritation and pushed his face close to the screen. There was light now, mostly firelight, but it lit the compound nevertheless. Flames belched from several cracks in the ship's superstructure around the engines, flashing further forward up the hull. Fuel system must have carried the blast all through the ship, Gleason reported, but catching Jones' expression, his grin faded. What is it, Corporal? I was just wondering if those flames carried to where they're holding Captain Douglas. With all this secondary damage... Gleason swallowed. Slowly he nodded understanding and looked back to the ship. There was nothing anyone could do about it now, so he quickly appraised their situation. Okay, we're going to have company any minute, so we need to look for a way to board that ship and keep it in our back pocket until the cavalry arrives. There are fractures all over the hull now. There must be a way in. Douglas left his cell with a final backward glance towards the man he must leave behind. He cursed, hating it, but Lloyd would die if he moved him. At least with Schultz's people he still had a chance, even though that meant leaving him with the enemy. Making his way cautiously to the end of a short corridor, he glanced around the corner for the briefest second. Another short corridor led away. It was empty, so he continued to the next corner. As he sneaked a peek, one of the last word's officers walked straight into him, and she was armed. 60 seconds out, Captain, Lieutenant Singh called across the bridge. Baines opened a channel to engineering. Hero, we'll be on top of them in less than a minute. Are you ready down there? Yes, Captain. Bring us in nice and low so that we can release the truck before moving on to our final operation. Will do. Bridge out. Coming down the valley just above the canopy, Captain, Singh reported. Just as the chief ordered. Steady as she goes. Let's not be too literal, Sandy. I don't want this to actually be our final operation. She opened a ship-wide channel. Strap in, everybody. We're going in. Another continuous rumble vibrated through the last word, growing louder every second. Many of the bridge's control consoles were out of commission altogether, while most of the others showed only frantic warnings and diagnostic screens. What now? Meritus muttered despairingly to himself. Better not be more damned animals. Giving up on the technology, he looked out of a window into the darkness, looked out, and then looked up. Eyes widening in disbelief, he bellowed, That's not animals! What the hell is going on out there? Somebody, I don't care who, give me a report! There were few bridge crew still at their stations, but one man did call out. Captain, our scanners are damaged, but it looks like we have incoming. I can see that. It looks like everybody. Meritus dashed to the officer's station. Show me what you have. It's something big, sir. What, like a dinosaur? Someone asked out. Panic invaded the man's speech. No, like the New World. Meritus knew they were all in shock, even the uninjured. It felt like he was caught in a bad dream, all thought and movement bound in marshmallow. What the hell are they doing? He mumbled, then straightened and staggered over to tactical, feeling a modicum of relief that the officer was still at her post. I want weapons. Now, Lieutenant. Most of our weapons are unresponsive, sir. There's so much systematic damage throughout the ship that trying to reroute it will be... No, wait. Stand by. Got it. Yes, one of the top cannons is still answering, sir. Excellent work. Now, I wonder if you would be kind enough to point it at that flying garbage truck and blow it out of the sky. Yes, sir. The gunner activated the single working top cannon, rotating it towards the incoming ship. The new world roared down the valley, clipping treetops and generating tremendous sucking winds in her wake. The few animals remaining in the area after the stampede and the subsequent explosion finally gave up and fled for their lives. "We have them on scanners, Captain," the Sarge reported from his station. "Calling up night vision." The heads-up display showed a scene of chaos and destruction. Baines calmed engineering. "Set down the truck and our troops, Hero." "Already underway, Captain," the engineer replied promptly, lowering the cradle and its payload. Singh was astonished by the damage Gleason's unit seemed to have wrought. "Weren't there just 6 of them in the commander's team? It looks like a stampede has been through the place." "A rather redundant simile, Lieutenant, although in all honesty, I don't think I could have put it better myself," Baines admitted. "You were right, Tim." "Captain?" "When you said that fear in animals can be devastating. God help anyone who was on the ground down there a few minutes ago." The new world hovered like the angel of death, lording the darkness over fire and destruction. The bridge crew's reverie was broken by a crackling from the comm. The Sarge bent to his station. "It's a secure channel, Captain." Baines nodded for him to acknowledge it. "Where are you guys been? The Barbie's nearly gone out." Baines' face lit up. "Commander, are you all safely out of the way?" "Yes, ma'am. We left the heavy lifting for you guys." Gleason saw no reason to report his missing in action just yet. There was nothing Baines could do for Ross now, and he did not wish to distract her with sorrows. "We're on our way." Baines out. Lieutenant Singh waited for the vehicle they had just deposited to reach a safe distance before inching the new world into position for the final stage of their mission. Douglas's captor pointed with her automatic pistol to a room off the main corridor. "In there." Having little choice, he obeyed. The room was small, with banks of equipment along one side. Once in, he spun quickly to face her, hoping for an opportunity to turn the situation around. This proved unnecessary, however, as his third miracle, after biding its time, chose that moment to drop into place. The last words officer clicked her gun's safety on before handing it to him, grip first. It took Douglas a moment to work out what was happening. "I'm Lieutenant Elizabeth Hemmings," she announced, pushing the weapon into his unresisting hand. "Captain, we have seconds only. There are no security cams in here, we're fortunate. Take these 3 extra clips for the gun. Here's a comm unit, and most importantly, you must take this." She handed Douglas a small data card. Douglas's mind finally caught up, and he glanced at the card before pocketing it. "What is it?" "It's important. You need to get the information it contains to your scientists aboard the New World. They'll know what to do with it. Everything depends on this, Captain. Everything." "Who are you?" "I told you. I'm Lieutenant—" "No, I mean, who are you?" "Hero, we're in position." In a heightened state, Singh shouted into the comm. "Are you ready?" "Just a second. I need to get at least 4 grapnels in place for this to work." "For the love of God, Hero, there's a cannon turning towards us. Can't we just go with 3? "It won't work. We will only damage the mechanisms," the engineer replied crossly. "You saw the calculations. In order to get enough lift, we need to—" "Hero!" bawled Baines and Singh together. All right. I'm almost there." Lieutenant Elizabeth Hemmings straightened her disheveled tunic, blowing a stray hair escaped from her severe military ponytail away from her face. "Long story short, Captain, they have their spies, we have ours." Her expression was suddenly fierce. "The US government contacted me, or should I say, responded to me. That was after Grandpa Schultz had my fiancée murdered." Douglas winced slightly. "Murdered?" She visibly swallowed her emotion. "I am related to the Schultz family. I was pulled into their world and informed that so long as I did as I was told, Stuart would be safe. Your fiancé? She nodded affirmation. He was not, shall we say, of approved stock. Heinrich Schultz could never allow anyone he considered to be of his bloodline to intermarry, as he called it, so he broke his word and murdered the kindest and best man I've ever known. I'm sorry. She accepted his commiserations stoically, but gratefully. I lashed out against the Schultz organization and sent a communique to the US government, and naturally, when Homeland Security made contact, I was in the mood to talk. Most of my family are gone now, all the ones I cared about anyway. I learned not to have friends. They die. At least if you can stop this madness, my family and Stuart will still get their chance to exist in the future. Perhaps things will even turn out differently, huh? The gunner's voice wavered. Captain Meritus, I've turned the cannon, but don't have full control. It won't elevate enough to hit the target, sir. Are you kidding? The New World is over half a kilometer long. I know, sir, but she's also several hundred meters in the air, and I just can't get the elevation. Neither will any of the missile launchers respond. Our controls are mostly dead, sir. She spun her seat to face Meritus. It's a slim chance, but we might be able to fire a missile manually from the launchers. There's nothing we can do from here, Captain. Come with me, Lieutenant, Douglas urged. Together we can... No. She shook her head fiercely, cutting him off. I have to remain undercover here, Captain, because if you fail, I will have to stop them. But even if you succeed, that's a one-way trip. I know, but they've already taken everyone and everything I cared about. The least I can do is return the favor. She served him a brittle smile. Now, in order to continue with my cover, I'll need you to knock me out. Douglas admired her courage, but before taking any drastic action, he decided to try further persuasion. He opened his mouth to speak when the whole world turned upside down. Get someone down here immediately, Meritus ordered the gunner before turning back to the officer on sensors. What are they trying to do to us? Before his subordinate could answer, the ship lurched. Meritus fell against a console and held on. Oh no, he said quietly. Another grinding pitch, this one considerably more severe, threw most of the crew to the deck as the last word began to yaw. Worse still, they were being dragged towards the steep embankment that until so lately had been their defense. The forces at play between the giant vessels made even the territorial struggles of the mighty Carcharodontosaurs seem like the spats of pygmies. Slowly, very slowly, the last word capsized, to the point where she crashed onto her side, smashing her starboard wing in the process, as the awesome power of the New World dragged her relentlessly towards the edge. Pour it on, Sandy, Baines shouted. Don't spare the horses. Lieutenant Hemmings and Captain Douglas crashed hard against the bulkhead, both completely out of control as the ship continued to turn over. Douglas landed on the slender woman, dramatically increasing the blow's force. He coughed, struggling for the breath to ask if she was hurt, when the ship tipped one final time, and they were smashed again, now into the opposite wall. The rolling motion was shocking and sounded destructive, but there was another feeling of movement, even more terrifying. Douglas felt as though the whole ship was being dragged by giant hands. Then came the falling. Meritus was thrown across the bridge to land on Schultz, who remained conscious, though she had done little more than moan since her first collision with the bulkhead. The last word was upside down, her crew thrown from their seats. Some called out or screamed, others were dead or dying. Meritus fought to regain his feet, but the whole ship lurched beneath him as she was dragged over the edge. He gave everything to a desperate final effort, all but throwing himself at the vacated gunner's station. With the ship in motion, he was unsure whether he hit or was hit by the weapons console, but he managed to press the firing stud just as his ship groaned and began the long slide into the ravine below. "We're nearly there," Singh shouted excitedly. He turned to Baines. "Captain, it's going to work!" Baines was suddenly breathless as the enemy vessel began her descent. They had done it. They had the result they so desperately needed. But at what cost? Resolute, she looked on, a mere observer, unable to do anything more, unable to speak even. As Singh maneuvered the new world away, a single thought burned through her mind like a raw nerve. James. As the last deep blues blacked away to full darkness in the valley, the last word's nose dipped and dug in. The ruined ship turned as she ploughed deep, leaving a wide furrow down the embankment until she struck a rocky outcrop. As her bow slowed, her vast bulk pushed on from behind, breaking her back. A vast debris cloud plumed high into the night sky, hiding her from sight as she ground to a final halt. Glowing under ancient starlight, the dust quickly began to settle, wrapping her rest in a luminous wraith-like glimmer. It was over, but for a brilliant flash that blinded the night. Diffused by the cloud, this final reprise was accompanied by a boom, the voice of a single cannon, thundering across the landscape to deliver the dying battleship's last word. The sudden fire in the sky lit the entire valley as explosions tore through the USS New World, and listening to port, she shook, waiting for gravity to present its final bill.
Revenge, Book 2 in the New World series. Written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie. New installments are uploaded weekly. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like or comment. Visit the link in the description for free New World companion stories, available for download as ebooks.